Yes, I am Istvan Javorek, and today I would like to make some demonstration on my 74th birthday. A few exercises about isometric exercises. So we know very well that there are dynamic exercises which has two different versions of it, concentric and then eccentric variation, and the isometrics. What it means isometric? Isometric, it means developing resistance an unmovable object. For example, I pushed against the wall. I tried to pick up a very heavy weight from the floor. So could be two different variations of it. One of them is with equipments, like for dumbbells. Holding the dumbbells on this position is developing resistance against an unmovable object. Okay? The other one is without any equipment, just with my arms. So there are, on isometric exercise, probably you can involve the most motor units than with anything else. So on dynamic movement, always some of the motor units are eliminated. But in this way, now with isometric exercise, you can stimulate all of your body musculature, and then you involve more motor units. So how you do that? You need to train your body. So for example, I just train my triceps. Okay, I train both of my arms. I train all of my latissimus dorsis. I train my abdominal muscles, and gradually my leg muscles, my hamstring and my gluteus maximus muscles. So, and after I try gradually to involve more and more of these musculature in it, and then I'm able to tighten all of the muscles at the same time. Now, what is very important to know, that I did, and then I studied in Romania from Dr. Demeter András, a professor at University of Physical Education. He was involved very much in research of isometric, and we were doing the variations of 8 seconds of high tension. And always on this high tension, first you need to warm up the muscles, not in a sudden. So for example, I do for my biceps. First I do gradually 1 and 2 seconds, and then I do the high pressure, the high tension for 8 seconds. After that, again 1 and 2 seconds, I release the pressure. And then what is the most benefit of isometric? That in a short time you can develop amazingly big strength and muscles also. What is the disadvantage of it? That develops slow muscles, and then it is not good for coordination also, and then slows down the speed development. So it's a great exercise for rehabilitation, and also after when someone is injured, then you can work on certain body parts. For example, one of my great athletes, Dragomir Csoroslan, once was hurting his back. He couldn't do any exercise of Olympic weightlifting, but he was able to do in certain positions different phases of snatch and clean and jerk, and I prepared for him in this way for the nationals, and actually a week or later he was able to exercise again, and then he won the nationals. So we were maintaining the muscular tone on a very high level. So what is the disadvantage of isometric? That in commercial version of it. So commercially is not advantageous because no money. You can do it on your own without any equipment. You just push against the wall. Okay? You hold your hands together and push in this way. Pull sideways, press together. Both of them is isometric variations. You can pull your knee toward you and then holding for 8 seconds. So everything, you can make millions of variations. Actually in my book, there are some seated exercises which involves all of these isometric movements, and then everybody can purchase it and then read it. And in the meantime, I will put on ebook a little book about all of my variations of dynamic and isometric exercise combination. Why? Because so important to take the benefit of isometric. So in certain situations it's very beneficial if you combine with dynamic movements. So I developed some certain programs, and then I would like to demonstrate today all of those variations. Actually I just demonstrate one variations of it, but to tell a few more words about the important issues, but you must know about isometric, that the central nervous system, if you are doing too long, involving all of these motor units and then getting those high pressure, and you do too long, then you get fatigued, you get tired of it, and then the central nervous system, the recovery time is much, much slower, 4 or 5 times probably slower than the muscular recovery. So that muscular system recovery. So that's why you cannot do it too long. So usually we do like 10 minutes a day, but in the meantime, you are in your office and then you work and then you want to exercise, you just tighten up all of your musculature for 8 seconds and then you relax, and then already you achieve something, moving your whole body musculature and then getting the tension in your muscles, and then you can repeat a few times, pulling your chair up, pushing the table down, so in that way you still can exercise. Now, I made another variations of it, different variations, I call in sequences. So for example, I have the dumbbells in my hand, and then I go in sequences upright rows, and stop on each different sequences, different phases for like a second, and same way down. And I can do same thing in 8 seconds to hold. So I can hold like up here for 8 seconds, and then all the way up and down, holding for 8 seconds, and all the way down. What is very important, the perfect technique, because you must remember that no dangerous exercise, just dangerous technique. So everything has to be done with the right technique. And always when I do in sequences, the last part of it, I do dynamic movements. So in that way, I eliminate all of those negative effects of isometric, of developing slow muscles. In this way, you can develop fast muscles. And then it's very interesting that United States in the 1960s were the best in the world on press exercises, in Olympic lifting, and overhead press. That's what they did with the barbell. And then it was a very famous promoter of all of these isometric exercises, Bob Hoffman, Mr. Bob Hoffman, who had the 2 magazines. One of them was the Strength and Health magazines, and then all of the weightlifters in that time, they were doing a lot of isometric exercises. So the American weightlifters, generally, they were much, much better. A lot of world records they did with the press exercises because of this benefit of this isometric. But in the meantime, on snatch and clean and jerk, except a few great athletes like Tommy Kono, Shemansky, who were amazing on snatch and clean and jerk also, the rest of them were much, much better on power, on strength exercise of press than on snatch and clean and jerk. So the final conclusion is that everything is good if you do the right amount of exercise and combine very well with dynamic movements. Thank you very much.